can start.
Okay. If they see breasts and long hair coming, they call it a woman. If the beard and whiskers, they call it a man. But look the self as it hovers between neither a man nor a woman. What links queer people to couple who love across community and caste lines is the very fact that they are exercising their right with enormous personal risk for loving each other. Good evening and a warm welcome to all of you. I am your host Rudrani Garg, bringing to you all yet another webinar session on gender and sexuality with Anajori. Before we begin the enthralling webinar, here's a small brief about us. Anajori, to our very new clients who are new clients and audiences who are there in this very beautiful evening. Anajori means the bond of love. It signifies unconditional love. And it is this very bond of love, the very unconditional love that has brought him back to the very land, right from USA, to start this a non-profit organization back in 2018, which engages and promotes various initiatives that strives for social change, leadership skills, and entrepreneurship capabilities in and across Northeast, including Assam. For the past few months, we have been engaging speakers from various disciplines, from various fields, working in this very region. And I am very profusely elated to have the opportunity to introduce the speaker, Dr. Sima Baruah ma'am, Assistant Professor in the Department of Philosophy, Cotton University, Guwahati. Ma'am received her doctorate degree in 2012 and master's in 2011 in philosophy from Gauhati University. Her research field is Bhagavadgita, Upanisads, Vedas and Indian Philosophy. Prior to joining the Cotton University, ma'am has worked as an assistant professor in Krishnaguru Adhyatmik Visvavidyalaya. Ma'am has also associated herself with various organizations such as IDOL and KKHSOU as an assistant professor and a content writer. Today's webinar, Philosophical Perspective on Gender and Sexuality, shall be reflecting the various debates that's about sex in various focusing the curtailment of social policing of our intimate pleasures and the need to understand the damages that sexual practices can cause. The webinar focuses to examine the philosophical arguments that shall challenge the traditional social rules and intolerance regarding the transgressive sexual acts. Every human has a right to live with dignity, whether it is marital rape or surgical interventions like mutilation, or whether it is kind of a marital rape. And in the very vast array of different kind of activities, each and every time there's an encroachment, there's the very there's a huge harm that is caused to each and every human. It's a violation of human rights. Often we see politicians debating and we see them justifying this very harmful acts on the grounds of Dharma Shastras, Upanisads, etc. Without further say, may I now request ma'am to please enlighten us regarding the very same. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Rudrani. I'd also like to thank Dr. Mukul Kumar Sharma and Kashmira for introducing me with this platform. As a teacher, I know how difficult it is to organize a talk, even quarterly. But Anajori team is organizing such talks on sensitive social issues on every Thursday.
Excuse me, ma'am.
So yes?
Your video is not visible. Can you please turn it on?
Okay, 1 second. My video is not visible.
Now it's okay, fine.
Okay. Okay, please give me a second. Some problem might occur. 1 second, okay. Is it okay now, Rudrani?
Yes, ma'am. It's perfectly.
Okay, so thank you. So I know it's very difficult to organize a talk even quarterly, which we do in our department. So another team is organizing such talks on sensitive issues of the society on every Thursday. So it's a really appreciable job. So today I'm going to talk about a philosophical perspective on gender and sexuality. Actually, there are two types of debates regarding sexual practices. One is transgressive sexual practice, which includes extramarital sex, same-sex sex, and paid sex. So debates about transgressive sexual acts often focus on whether the traditional social barriers against them are normally defensible or not. And another is the harmful social acts, which includes rape, pornography, harassment, domination, etc. Okay, so in this session today, I would like to talk about the transgressive social practices and not the harmful ones. Okay. So transgressive sexual practices are regarded as harmful. Actually not they are harmful, but they are harmful because they transgresses the social rules and barriers. Okay. So sex was considered as a forbidden topic of discussion openly. So we got to learn a little about it from reading some novels or from our friends. So when I was studying in school in class 8 or 9, then I first come across the term homosexuality from reading a novel which was published in the magazine Bismoy. Okay, but personally, till then, I never met any such person having such sexual orientation. Or perhaps people might shy to come up that our society as IHEM. Okay, so now I will talk about two cases. So in a residential school, two boys were great friends engaged in homosexual relationship. Both are good friends and they excelled in studies. What school authority did is they have to sit for psychological counseling after that, and they were asked to do meditation. So I believe that as they were minors, so they should not be engaged in any type of sexual act, whether it be homosexual or heterosexual. I believe that. But the problem here is that the approach of the school authorities, they wanted to cure their homosexuality, thinking it to be a sort of disease. Okay. One writer, Timothy Murphy, in his book Gay Sex pointed out this problem that the resources that takes place for homosexuality, some have given invaluable insight that the psychology of a gay person and a straight person does not differ in any way. And the gay person are absolutely normal human beings like us. Okay, but some resources assumes that homosexuality is abnormal or unnatural and suggests us cures for it, that how to cure it. They research on that. Okay, Then again, another case I would like to point out. So when I was studying BA in Cotton College, I was staying in a private hostel in the Uzan Bazar area. Then one afternoon, a girl came to our hostel. She wanted to stay in our hostel. She was doing journalism. She have some masculine features. Okay, she was like a tomboy type. She was, but the girl who saw her were afraid of staying with her as roommates, thinking her to be a lesbian. So they got together, all the girls got together and went to the warden to tell her that this girl should not be staying in our hostel as she is a lesbian. Okay. So the warden was a educated lady, and actually she did not know what does lesbian meant. So after the initial shock, she eventually accepted and denied the girl. Okay, so it is seen that whether it is a village or city, the person is educated or uneducated, young or old, the awareness problem exists. So as a teacher of philosophy, I would like to first analyze the terms, what does gender means and what does sexuality means. Okay, so in common parlance, we see that the term gender is used as synonym with sex, but in academic discussion, it is not so. They are distinct. So a rough and hasty description of the sex-gender distinction might say that sex is biologically given, gender is social construction, and the two shall never can meet. So according to Public Health Office definition of sex, it says that sexual orientation is about who you are attracted to emotionally, sexually, and romantically. It is different than gender identity. But gender identity is not about who you are attracted to emotionally, sexually, or romantically, but about who you are. You are male, you are female, or gender queer. Okay, that is gender. And sexuality is one's sexual orientation. So once gender is anti-correlated to the gender of the person one is attracted to. So gender is learned. What we are, we girl or she is a boy, but sexuality is something one is born with. Okay, that one should not teach her. It's his sexuality. So it is seen that sexual orientation is internal and gender is something external concept. Now I'm going to give some views regarding sexuality. So firstly, St. Thomas Aquinas, he was a Catholic philosopher, and he in his book Summa Theologica stated that sex was designed by God solely for procreation. That means to give birth. So Aquinas' position was grounded in the deep-seated belief that sexual desire was fundamentally evil. And another Catholic philosopher after Aquinas, he is Augustine, named Saint Augustine. He also viewed sexual desire as some type of evil. Okay, and they considered sex as a necessary evil. Necessary evil means which is a evil, a forbidden act, but has to be done for some other purpose. And what that purpose is? For procreation. Okay, so that the human race exists. Okay, for the existence of human race, sex needs to be done, but it is a Catholic philosophers. And then we get this view in Gandhi's autobiography also. Gandhi's autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. When we read that biography, then we find that he also considered sexual act as a kind of act which needs to be done only for procreation, that is giving birth. Okay, and it should not be used for pleasure, according to Gandhi. And he was an avid reader of all the religious texts, right from Bible, Quran, and Bhagavadgita. So as Bhagavadgita teaches us to control our senses, so Mahatma Gandhi denied sexual practice, and he confined sexual practice only in the realm of marriage and for procreation, and he associated morality with sexuality actually. So he stated that sex is not for fun, it should be only for procreation. Then after Gandhi, we find the Western philosopher's view also, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. So Immanuel Kant also, his ethics stated that he also associated morality with sex and stated that sex should be within the confine of marriage only and not beyond it. Because when it is done outside marriage, then the person uses sex as an instrument for fulfilling one's desire and lust. That means one uses the other person. But when it is done within the confine of marriage, then they have certain responsibility or duty towards each other. Okay. So Kant's morality was confined to marriage. So the views which we just now find, that of Kant, whether of Kant or Catholic philosophers or Gandhi, the problem is that they associated the three. Associated the three means sex, marriage, and procreation. They associated all three, and they stated that these three are non-discriminative. They comes in total. So their problem regarding sex lies in that. So that means they associated the three. Then we also find some positive light or positive views regarding sex. So I'd first take the name of the Greek philosopher Plato. So Plato does not consider sex as evil. Plato, in his book Symposium, emphasizes sexual relations between males as more higher than sexual relation between male and female. Okay, so he grounded sexual relation between males as more higher, perhaps because he was an idealist philosopher. Plato was. He was the founder of idealism, in fact. So what does idealism mean? So idealism says that ideas are only real, and all other things of our external world are merely actually Xerox copies or film copies of that actual idea. Okay, that means things of the external world are not perfect, they are not real, only ideas are real. So perhaps he took the idea of sex as perfect and purest form, devoid of any physical contact. Okay, so there was a famous term which goes by his name, that is called Platonic love, which means love in its purest form without any physical contact. So that is the philosophy of Plato. Next comes Bertrand Russell. So Bertrand Russell was also a philosopher, one of the important philosophers, and he challenged the Christian orthodoxy on sex and marriage. So according to him, sex, procreation, and marriage, all three are different. They should not be confined into an indiscriminating total. Okay, so he took an open view about sex, might be because he did not want it to association. According to him, all three are different. Then we find the view of Russell Vanoy. Russell Vanoy, he wrote a book named Sex Without Love, a philosophical exploration, Sex Without Love. So in that book, he not only separated sex and marriage, he also separated sex and love also. According to him, sex can be performed not even of race, but even without love also. Two persons can engage in sexual behavior without having any kind of love also. So he believed in a total open relationship, but he himself was happily married, having children and all. He lived till his death. Last years he died only, but he believed in, or he preached an open marriage if both are consensual, both parties are consensual. So he did not consider anything disgusting or sinful about sex. Then we can get the views of Thomas Nagel and Rudy, okay, professor of philosophy. He maintains that the absence of reproduction does not make sex unnatural or immoral. So according to him, homosexual relations are as complete as heterosexual relations. So Rudik also supported Nagel and states that good sex should be complete, which requires mutuality of desire and response. So good sex does not need to be only natural, it may be unnatural also. That means that sex can take place between persons of same sex also. So both Nagel and Rudik based sex on the conception of good sex. Good sex means what? Sex which has mutuality between both the parties. So their morality, like Kant's morality lied in marriage, he confined sex only within marriage. Rudik and Nagel confined sex within good sex. That means when both the parties have consent, then sex can take place between any gender, whether male or female, or between the same sex. Okay. So again, there are some philosophers who detached morality from sex. So they do not associate any type of morality, whether marriage or whether consent, in sex. Okay, those philosophers are Alvin Goldman, Alan Sobel, and Primords. They take sex not as a means for some other end, but they take sex only an end in itself. That means sexual pleasure itself give us sex itself give us pleasure. So we should not associate sex with some other moral purpose or other higher purpose. They are complete in itself. Okay, so they consider that sex is morally neutral, like other bodily functions which we perform, like eating, walking, sleeping, okay, having a bath. Sex is just like another bodily function. Okay, so the rules and regulations which is applied in case of the other bodily functions should also apply in case of sexual practice, and not any other rules which is specifically for sex and not for the other bodily functions. Okay, so these three philosophers considered sex just as a bodily function like the other non-sexual bodily functions. Then another philosopher named Michel Foucault. So Michel Foucault stated that the emerging medical science of sexuology has transformed our understanding of a number of sexual practices, including same-sex sexual acts. So which was previously regarded as forbidden acts are just defined nowadays as just another sexual orientation. So nowadays, by the invent of different appliances for reproduction or another thing, so sex is not confined just to reproduction anymore. Okay, it is, according to Foucault, he he's a postmodern philosopher, so his views are very open-minded. So he did not confine sex to anything. According to him, it's just like other bodily functions for Michel Foucault. Then, after the views of these particular philosophers, I'd like to point out some theories in philosophy. Their views are not directly related to sexuality or gender, but we can find support from their viewpoints or these theories. So first, I will talk about the existentialist standpoint. So what is existentialism? Existentialism is a philosophy which considers that human existence is of primary importance. That means once existence is first, then comes the other things. What his sexual orientation is, what his gender is, what he likes to be, what his purpose is. These things comes later. But first, his existence comes. Okay. So their philosophy is focused on one primal point, that is existence precedes essence. That means existence comes before essence. So Sartre was a famous existentialist philosopher. He stated that the other things of the world, like the pen, the knife, the bag, these are for some purpose. That means they must serve some purpose, only then they are useful. But human being is not like that. Human being do not have any fixed nature. Human being do not have any common nature that everyone is same. All human beings have their inherent values. They are totally different from one another. Their characters, their nature, everything differs from one another. And existentialist philosophers consider the intrinsic value of the human beings. So, a pen is for writing, a knife is for cutting. If they do not serve that purpose, then we may discard them. But that is not possible in case of humans. Okay. So, like the existence of humans, his sexual orientation comprises his existence. So sexual orientation is something which is not a choice. He is born with it. But gender identity, it comes later. What he is, male, female, or genderqueer, it comes later. But his sexual orientation is something by which he is born with. It means facticity. That means it cannot be changed. An existentialist also states that man is the maker of his own destiny. That means one can choose what one likes to be. Sexual orientation is not a choice, but other things. What he wants to become, what he likes, all are his choice. Okay, so no one can prevent him from doing anything according to this philosophy. So homosexuality and transgenderism are not acquired. Neither they are founded on belief or choice. It constitutes our existence. And they are innate and integral to our identity than this corporeal body of flesh and blood. Okay, so body can be considered as external, but his inner things, his soul cannot be considered as an external thing. It is innate to him. It is confined in him. It cannot be separated till death. Now, we can also argue from the dualistic standpoint. Dualistic standpoint means what? Those who considered the self and the body as different, the mind and the body as different, they are considered as the dualist philosopher. So among the dualist philosopher, we can take the name of the rationalist philosopher René Descartes. So Descartes was a rationalist philosopher, and he supported the distinction between mind and body. That means mind is totally different, and according to him, body is totally different. Another philosopher, we can take the name of Ryle, Gilbert Ryle. He also considers as totally different thing. So Gilbert Ryle considered the body as human body as a type of machine, and he considers which resides in that machine. That means host in a machine. Then from Indian philosophy also, we get a system called the Sankhya philosophy, which also believes or admits the reality of two things, that is Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha means matter and Prakriti means the soul. Okay, that means human beings or all other things are constituted of two things, one soul and the other matter. Here, Purusha does not mean a male and Prakriti does not mean a female. Okay, here Prakriti means our body and Purusha stands for our soul, which is internal to us, which is innate to us, that cannot be separated. But our body, it can be separated, it can be discarded. Like we discard the worn out clothes, the soul also, according to the Indian philosophy view, the soul also discards this body as like a worn out garment. And Indian system believes in rebirth or reincarnation, and they believes that the soul enters in a new body. And that means, according to the Indian philosophy, the body is not of any much importance. What is important is the soul. Okay, so from dualist standpoint also, we can refer to the gender. Then comes the non-authoritarian standpoint. Non-authoritarian standpoint means which considered that nothing is absolutely real or nothing is considered as absolutely unreal. Okay, so postmodernism also teaches us non-authoritarianism. So what is postmodernism? So postmodernism is beyond modernism. That means modernists are what? They disregard the traditional things. That means everything traditional is wrong according to the modernist. But they also becomes authoritarian like the traditional philosophers. Okay, so postmodernism does not accept that authoritarian principle. They are non-authoritarian. That means they accept everything. Postmodern accepts the contradictory viewpoints also. That means this is also correct and that is also correct. So we can take this issue from postmodern standpoint also. And postmodernist philosophers who supported these things, we can take the name of Jacques Derrida. Okay, so he was a postmodern philosopher. He criticized what? He criticized metaphysics, which searches for absolute reality. That means, according to postmodernist Derrida, that there is no such thing as which is actually real or this is only real. Okay, there is no such thing. That means everything has different standpoints. We can see things from different standpoints and all are true or all are real. So non-authoritarian or non-absolutism, there are another theories also. For example, Jaina theory. In Indian philosophy, we have 9 schools. Among them, Jaina is also one. So Jaina theory also accepts Anikantavada. Anikantavada means what? There are many sides of reality, many-sidedness of reality. Give an example. For example, if 6 blind men are asked to define a elephant, that means a statue of elephant is given and all the 6 blind men are asked to define that elephant. Then the person who is touching the body of the elephant would define the elephant like a wall. Who is touching the teeth of the elephant will define the elephant. He would say that the elephant is like a sword. Okay, who is touching the ears of the elephant will define the elephant is like a fan. Okay, so none of the descriptions are correct, but everyone is correct from their own standpoint. So Joyno uses the example of the sixth blind person regarding anything. So it may be possible regarding anything. So we cannot take only one viewpoint. That means only this is correct. That by not hearing the standpoint of the another one. Okay. So Joyno also believed in non-authoritarianism. That means Onekantavada. That means reality may have many sides. Okay. There is not only one point of reality, or they do not consider the fixity of meaning. That means a thing has only one meaning, not like that. Then comes, we can take the opinion of another German philosopher, Hegel. Okay, so Hegel's method, Hegel uses a particular method that is called dialectic method. Dialectic method means what? Nothing, he also states that nothing is absolute. Everything is first a thesis, then for that thing, opposite thing also exists that is called antithesis. For everything, there is a thesis, antithesis, then finally they reconcile and makes a synthesis. That means they progress to a little higher level. And that chain does not stop within the synthesis. That synthesis also becomes next the thesis. Then another contradictory force arises, which is called antithesis. And finally, they also reconciles and makes a new synthesis. Like this, truth progresses or develops. That means there is no stoppage of reality. This is only correct, not like that. So Hegel's dialectic method also supports that there is only higher and higher reality. There is a chain of reality and does not stop in only one reality. Okay, so non-authoritarian or non-absolutism also teaches us that there is nothing like this is only correct. We must also consider the standpoint of another one. Now, homosexuality is always considered as unnatural. Now, what determines what is natural and what is unnatural? Okay, so homosexuality means what? Homosexuality means attraction towards your own sex. And heterosexuality means what? Attraction. Now, does anyone compare heterosexuality to be illegal? No. Why? Because that is the mainstream. Most of the people are born heterosexual and some are not. Then, would we prevent someone from marrying just because they follow a different religion or they have different color? No. Then why should we prevent someone from marrying just because they follow a different sexual orientation? That difference is normal, as being right-handed and left-handed. Just as there are some right-handed people, some left-handed people, that difference of sexual orientation is also absolutely normal. So we must get used to it and realize that those are also perfectly normal human characters. Okay. So, in our Indian fundamental culture lies on acceptance of different views. We accept different views. Like we have 9 systems of Indian philosophy. Those are Charvak, Jaina, Buddha, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Mimamsa, Vedanta, and Yoga. These are the 9 systems of Indian philosophy. And each system have different philosophies, which are very much contradictory to each other, but we accept all of them. Like, for example, the Charvaka system. Charvaka is the only one materialistic system. This system differs very much from the other system. Their philosophy or ethics is what? Eat, drink, and be merry. Khua luaru futi kora. There is a famous saying in Charvaka philosophy, Jabot jibet chukham jibet, rinong kritta khitong tibet, phosmi bhutoisya dehoisya, punora gamanong kuto. That means, jiman din jiai thaka sukhere jiai thaka, thar puri holeo ghi khwa. এই দেহটো এদিন ভস্মীভূত হৈ যাব আৰু কেতিয়াও ঘূৰি নাহে. Okay, so their philosophy is very much different from the other philosophical system. Buddhism. What Buddhism teaches? They preaches the philosophy of live and let others also live. Okay, then Jaina philosophy. Jaina philosophy is, they preaches the philosophy of non-violence and non-absolutism. Just now I discussed about Anekantavada. They teaches us that and non-violence. Then comes Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya believes that the world we are living is created out of the combination of Purusha and Prakriti. Okay, so our scientific view is that the world is created out of atoms. So Boisheshika supports that. So we embrace Boisheshika also, and we embrace Sankhya also. Sankhya states that everything of the world cannot be created out of atoms because there are some subtle things like our mind, intelligence, etc., which cannot be a combination of atoms. So these subtle things are created out of Prakriti. Then Vedanta comes, Vedanta philosophy. They teaches us that there is only one absolute reality, and that is Brahman. Then there comes the Mimamsa system. Mimamsa system teaches us what? Mimamsa system teaches us the rules and regulations which were written in the Veda. Okay, and Nyaya teaches us epistemology, that means about knowledge. So our 9 Indian philosophical system very much differs from each other, but we accept all without any hesitation. Okay, so our Indian culture never teaches us to discriminate or to shun off anything which is not the mainstream or which does not agree with us. We should not shun them off. They also have their own viewpoint. Okay. So therefore, by having silly laws that hampers the lives of someone who has a different sexual life from the rest of us, we are going against the fundamental idea of India. The society should start accepting it as natural and as nothing wrong. People speculate about how nurture contributes to sexuality and how bad environment or poor upbringing or a bankruptcy or of moral values underlie sexually deviant behavior. But a person's sexual orientation is not a choice, and homosexuality is not unnatural. So accepting LGBT is like, I accept Jainism, I accept Buddhism, I accept Islam, I accept Christianity, but I practice Hinduism. There is nothing wrong in it. Okay, so I am heterosexual. That does not mean that I cannot accept others as homosexual. So one last theory I would like to talk about, the theory of utilitarianism in philosophy. So what utilitarianism, what their ethics is, greatest good of the greatest number of people. So in order to achieve that goal, we cannot keep aside beings having different sexual orientation. Okay, so that would be very wrong. So in order greatest good of the greatest number, we should also consider the others as fellow human being like us. They are also completely normal, and homosexuality is not an immoral act. So thank you. I'd like to conclude my lecture. Hope you liked it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, now we open the forum for the questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I have comments also. I'm
Yes.
Dr. Mukul Kumar Sharma.
Yes.
Congratulations, Dr. Baruah, for accepting our. Thank you also for accepting our invitation, and congrats for delivering such a bold kind of and very nicely delineated lecture on sexuality and gender, philosophical perspective from philosophical perspectives, and we really enjoyed it. I mean, like from the minority queer community, since I belong to and have been working for their rights, I really appreciate your open-mindedness. The youth academics like you, the way you have been supporting queer people like us, LGBTQ people like us. So we hope that after a few years, the discrimination will be very less. One thing, from your lecture, I have been wondering. You said that you have 9 philosophical schools in India, and everybody and we as an Indian accept everything almost. To a certain extent, we accept all the schools, the philosophy of the 9 schools, although they differ from each other. And that means that there is no mainstream. Everybody has their own existence in this world, have their own realities, and we have to accept it. And as you said, the Jainism directly actually support a non-mainstream kind of existence and realities. And why is it so that in India, although we have Hinduism quite support homosexuality, like the Ras festival itself is a homosexual festival celebration of gay sexuality, like all the gopikas actually are sages, male sages who fell in love to Lord Rama. And when Lord Rama said that I am in exile and it's not possible, but I'll have the rebirth of Krishna in the Parajug, and I will fulfill your homosexual desire. And that night, the last night, all the Malsases actually they were reborn as gopikas, and they the Krishna fulfilled their desire at that night, sexual desire. And have the from Kailasa, Shiva was looking all that, God Shiva, Lord Shiva, and he came in the disguise of a gopika, and he came down and have the sexual plays and game with Krishna. And that night, Krishna and Shiva united physically. So all these are actually the Ras festival, and that's why in Nalbari Ras, if you notice the main mandap, in front of the mandap, a big statue of Shiva is there usually, and he is noticing that Ras Leela. So we have this, and the Sikhandi, the original become Bihanala, all these are transgender references we have. We have so open-minded religion, India. But why is it so discriminatory in India? I mean, it's one of the most discriminatory, discrimination is going on regarding queer rights. We do not have the equal rights so far. Only in 2018, the gay sex became, or homosexual sex became legalized. Why is it so discriminatory? Why a lot of stigma still there
Okay. So
in
thank you
India?
for the question, Dr. Mukul Sharma. So the discrimination is because of, I think, the awareness problem, primarily the awareness problem. So people people are not actually aware that they are normal. So actually, before studying about them, I also not discriminate directly, because not discriminate, but that they are different. I have that mindset that they are different. So how to talk with them, what would be the topic of discussion with them, I used to have that mindset. But after studying that, studying about it, I'm totally clear that they are absolutely normal. Their psychology is normal. They're not different from us. Only their sexual orientation is different. So mostly it's because of the awareness problem. But as it has become legalized by the government, so that is more important. Government recognition. So social discrimination is also will be abolished. Though it's taking baby steps, it is gradually becoming, so it will be definitely acceptable by all. Problem first, government acceptability is more important. As government has no problem, it's legalized, so now society will also, I think, they will gradually accept it. And thank you for the information also regarding the mythology part. I am not clearly aware of it, what you said about the Russia and all. I have not gone through it. I have gone through only the philosophical part. I have learned new things from the mythology part actually today.
It's actually published work, from my own published work I have been referring.
Okay.
No, not many people knows about it, and that's why
Yes.
I have informed about that. Please,
Yes.
since you are from the Department of Philosophy, I think you will have this reference very forward in the future research. And what I think, regarding the gender and sexuality education, if it becomes compulsory in India, or especially in Assam, where gender issues, sexuality issues, LGBT issues, and the laws regarding the sexuality and the mental and physical health are related to the sexuality, the gender fluid identity, different gender from binary standpoints, all these things, if they are included as a compulsory course, I mean, like under the sex education, do you think these problems which we have been facing, a lot of inequality, towards certain community, do you think even the women are subjected to not having that equal rights so far, right?
Yes, definitely.
Still, so do you think that gender problems, inequality problems will, or sexual discrimination will be less?
Yes, from sex education right from school, I think, and in academic institutions, this problem will gradually be shut off. Like when I search for some academic papers about this, then I find more is the papers from feminism standpoint. Okay, so actually, I was attending that means orientation program in the month of March, where one talk was about gender sensitization. But there also we learned very little about this. We learned very little about that, and all other discussion is on women empowerment or feminism. So this thing or this issue or topic is given less important, and material is also very less. When I search in Google or some good publication about the papers, so there are very less books and very less academic papers. Then we got to know some issues very less. So awareness problem in inclusion in academic discipline is also less. Okay, so people so when we one second, gender issue is all about like feminism, that mindset. Okay, so very less academic papers, so that is also a problem. If this issue is included in our academic school right from school, now what does actually, at least the concepts. So today, after so many years, I got to learn about what those terms means, like cisgender means what, asexual means what, bisexual means what. Google, not from any reliable source or academic paper. So if it is included in our schools or academics, then people will research more about it and people will be more aware about it. So nowadays, gender issue is confined to basically on feminism. That is the problem actually.
Thank you, Dr. Baruah, for the elaboration. Thank you very much for coming here. Giving a nice lecture and clarifying my doubts. Thank you.
Ma'am, we have a question in the chat box. Would you like to take it? Ma'am, the question is, ma'am, is gender sensitization cell should be there in every university in Guwahati and all over Assam? That's the question, ma'am. Do
Yes,
you think
but
it's like important?
yes, I replied just now. It's very important that we should have a cell like that, which make us aware about the different kinds of gender that exist in our society within uh, within our near and dear ones. Yes, that will be a good step for people to learn about it or to make aware like a woman cell exists. Okay, so that cell will contribute positively towards this issue, I think.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope that answers her question. Um, are there any other questions? Or I do have a small question, ma'am.
Okay, ask
Okay.
Rani.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is this: that I mean, in a lot of philosophical texts, I guess it was in Manusmriti. So it is like written that marriage is a contract between a man and a woman, such that a man would get access to a female's body. And today, the same philosophy is applied to marital rape, legitimizing marital rape by men. Ma'am, do you think these kind of philosophical texts they have been totally molded? It has been changed, or it has been it has been remolded in such a way so as to it becomes a benefit for that of a man instead of going straight by the definition. So we see even when women are having periods, or even when women are not fine with having say sexual activity, that time also we see men are encroaching the very rights and terming it the very fact in Manusmriti, relating it to Manusmriti, or telling things that yes, it's a man's right. Do you think it's right for any men, or rather the entire nation, or the very fact that these kind of philosophical texts should be remolded in a way that becomes advantage to them?
Okay, thank you, Rudrani, for the question. First, I would like to clarify one point that Manusmriti is not a philosophical text. Okay, so Manusmriti is not at all a philosophical text. It is not related in any way to philosophy. I got that text. I saw that text I got the text in IIT library itself. I have gone through the text, but there is nothing important that we should study in this age. We should study that text. Okay, I have gone through it just out of my curiosity. That means to learn what is there, because I was doing research on the Bhagavadgita. So for that, I have gone through the Upanishad. It's perfectly okay. I have also gone through the reference of the Vedas, but Manusmriti is not a philosophical text, and it should not be read by anyone, I think, in this case. Okay. Then coming to the marital rape, and those who does that, I think they have not probably read Manusmriti, or they might not read any text. Okay, so they are not like that. They study those texts and do such things, not like that. Those person who does this have never gone through, I think, not any text. Okay, so marital rape, those are harmful social practices. I have not, in this session, I have not gone through that. Actually, that is totally another part of discussion, a big part of discussion. Harmful sexual act I already talked about. Those are pornography and marital rape. Those things are different, but I'll not accept that. And if there is in Manusmriti in some other way, so I think philosophy is not responsible for this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other questions? Ma'am, let's wait for a minute, and after that we shall go. If there's any question, then we will take it up.
Okay.
মই মিলিন্দত এটা হেৰি কমেন্ট দিব খুজিছো, নট এ কুৱেশ্যন। ভাল লাগিলে হা, তুমি ইমান মানে চবৰে পৰা চব চাইডৰ পৰা কাভাৰ কৰিছা। মোৰ এইটো কুৱেশ্যন আছিলে, বহুত মানুহক মই সমাজত দেখো কি যোনে ষ্ট্ৰেইট পাৰ্চন, যোনে LGBT লগত কাম কৰে ভালেই প্ৰজেক্ট কৰে, কিন্তু তাৰপিছত গৈ পেলাই মানুহৰ সন্মুখত কয় মই কিন্তু ষ্ট্ৰেইট হয় দেই। এইটো ক'ৰ পৰা আহি যায়? মানে মানে তেতিয়া চব নালিফাই কৰি দিয়ে নহয়।
Yes.
Just saying the small statement কি মই কিন্তু ষ্ট্ৰেইট হয় দেই।
Okay.
So মানে I do not know, মই ফিলচফি ভালদৰে বুজি নাপাওঁ, কিন্তু where does it come from? মানে if you have any comment about that, I just want to
Okay, yes. Thank you for the question, Milin. So that point is, or that particular thing which that man has done, so itu ki boli koy speciesism boli koy. So teo bhabe ki they are of some other species. Those people are. He does not consider them as our fellow human beings. I think he considered them as though he is doing some project, or though he was involved with them for so long time, but in his mind he considered them as a separate species. Okay, so he, I think, says like that. He considers them as species. So it's okay, I'm doing I'm doing research, or I'm doing some type of work for them, but I would not be involved with them in any way. That philosophy is called, I think, that mindset is called speciesism. Like animals are separate from us, they are from a different species. Okay, and among animals also we classify some animals as more important and some as less important. We mourn for some animals and do not mourn in the death of some animals. Okay, so I think such people considered LGBT as a separate species that needs to be cured.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
আৰু এটা কুৱেশ্যন সুধিব খুজিছো দেই, মই অসমীয়াতে সুধিছো।
ঠিক আছে।
হয়, তো মোৰ ইয়াতে 4টা কুকুৰ আছে, কুকুৰ ন। চ' মাক পুতেক জীয়েক, আৰু পিছত আৰু এটা কুকুৰ আহিলে, যোনটো চব ৰাস্তাৰ কুকুৰে, তাক কোনোবাই পানী ঢালিছিলে, গৰম পানী ঢালিছিলে, তাক মই ৰেস্কিউ কৰিলো। এতিয়া তাৰ নোম চুমবোৰ আহি দেখিব ভাল হৈছে, তো তাইক মই কওঁ মাকৰ বয়ফ্ৰেণ্ড বুলি। তাৰপিছত এতিয়া কি হৈছে, মোৰ গোটেইকেইটা কুকুৰ নিউটৰ, তাৰমানে চবৰে নিউটৰ হৈ গ'ল। তো বাৰ্থ কণ্ট্ৰল কৰা হ'ল তাৰমানে। তো এতিয়া কি হৈছে, মাক আৰু পুতেকে খুব খেলি থাকে, নট সেক্সুৱেল, বাট they always play around. কুকুৰে যেনেকে খেলে ডিঙিত কানি, এতিয়া মানে গোটেইবোৰ এডাল্ট। চ' এনেকুৱা। আৰু যোনজনী ফিমেলজনী, জীয়েকজনী চবতকে ডমিনেটিং হয়। জীয়েকজনী তাৰমানে মাকৰ লগতো কাজিয়া লাগে, পুতেকৰ লগতো কাজিয়া লাগে। So I actually started keeping her with my cat. So now she and the cat is good friend. Okay. And then this dog, মানে জীয়েকজনী এতিয়া এই মাকৰ বয়ফ্ৰেণ্ড বুলি কওঁ, মানে the adult dog, সি চবতকৈ মাইল্ড হয়। অকে, ভেৰি কি বুলি কয়, চবেই তাৰ ওপৰত ডমিনেশ্যন কৰে, you know. Now she started humping on him. Okay, so I was like, it was very interesting, because he is very, docile, or submissive, the male dog, and now the female dog hump on him. So I do not know what is, of course, I was just telling somebody like, oh, my dog is queer. Do you, what is your opinion? What do you?
I don't have any opinion, because I don't know anything about animal behavior. Okay, so I'm only concerned with human, not concerned with the animal.
I thought that I could relate with human though.
No, you cannot relate human with animal. That would be totally wrong.
No, but when you talk about homosexualities, we know we
Okay,
have
so that
homosexuality.
behavior exists in animal also. So you can search in Google
Hetu.
also. Homosexual behavior exists in animal also. So it proved
Yeah.
by the research also. You can search in Google.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any more questions or comments?
I think there is a question in the chat box.
No, ma'am, this question I have already asked. The question has been asked, ma'am. So are there any more questions? If not, we can proceed to the last part of the webinar. Seeing no more questions, thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful session that we had. It was very fruitful. At the same time, here are a few points that I noted down. Sexuality is something which is not born. It is like sexuality is something which is born, but gender is something which we are not born with, but it is something which is made. Even Simone de Beauvoir had said that a woman is not made, is not born, but a woman is made. So something similar I can really relate to this. At the same time, we see that there are philosophers like Gandhi, as well as there are many other who consider sexual activity to be only something which is related to that of our procreation and not that of not that of pleasure. And that's literally very, very important, because when it comes to pleasure, we see a lot of harm takes place because of that. At the same time, we even find Plato's view. Plato is someone like, I am from political science department, political science. So the thing is that I was really very much interested in knowing things from right from Plato to that of idealism as a concept, to that of existentialism as well, where you said about Sartre's famous quote, existence precedes essence, from which we got to know as to how human beings, we are having we are though the primary creatures, we would be having all each one of us are totally different from one another, and that's because we would be having different thoughts, etc. And so that's one thing that I literally loved, and I was literally thinking that our philosophers, our political science philosophers, was having such a even they even spoke regarding the same field as well, regarding sexual activity, and whether it should be something regarding pleasure, whether it should be something regarding the just a procreation thing. So along with it, we also got to know about the duality theory, which is dualist theory, which is again something which is even found in the Indian philosophy as well, where when it's found in Bhagavadgita, where there's again soul and body are different. Soul never vanishes. It is something which is perennial, if I have to say in my own language. And so besides this, we even got to know the philosophy from the non-authoritarian viewpoint, whereby I think I would more or less agree with this non-authoritarian viewpoint, and I believe that most of us would rather agree, because we might follow something in our own self, but it's not right to just keep on imposing the same viewpoint on someone else. And it's not just about imposing someone else's viewpoint, it's also about accepting each other, accepting each other's differences, and at the same time also embracing those differences. And so I do think that in Indian culture, we are all having different kind of cultural viewpoints, but the very innate thing, that's the reason behind why we have even accepted secularism. That's the reason behind why we the acceptance towards the differences, towards the diversity itself makes what India unique. And so nothing is wrong in acceptance, whether it is homosexuality or whether it is heterosexuality, and we should continue accepting each other, embrace the differences, and definitely we would ensure a good and beautiful world. Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you to each and every participant who have been a part of this beautiful show. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Drani, for the nice sum up. And thank you all. Thank you, Anna Jory team, for giving me this opportunity to express my thoughts on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So may I leave now?